Yep.
Chris Swick here, the host of From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. Today I got a great guest with me, Ben Fanelli, former Kitchener Ranger and associate coach with the University of Waterloo hockey team. How's it going, Ben?
It's pretty good right now amidst this interesting way of living right now, but things are pretty good.
Yeah, what are you doing in this day and age with the isolation and quarantine and all that stuff with this pandemic?
Definitely trying a lot of new things. I mean, I just hemmed my pants the other day, which was a never sewn before. We did it by hand, so that was new. I'm doing a lot of cooking, baking that I haven't done before, and then figuring out ways to do everything you need to do within 500 square feet, not even. So I've looked at it as an opportunity to become creative and dive into things I haven't done before. Uh, while also doing my day to day that I'm still able to do from home. It's just kind of shown me um, I can get things done a lot quicker when you're don't have the freedom to make excuses and go other places and do other things. So it's been a big. I've looked at it as an opportunity to learn, and I've definitely learned a lot so far.
Nice. Yeah, same here. I live in a pretty small space in a condo here too in Guelph, so getting really
Yeah,
creative
you find
myself.
a way to make it work. Like, and then you kind of, I don't know, to me, you kind of realize at the same time, holy smokes, what do we need all that for? I mean, it's like we right now it's a bit of a realization. Health is the most important thing, and then the next thing is the health of the people around you, and the other things we used to value kind of lose their value a little bit right now. And to me, that's healthy, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit about what life was like growing up and where you're from originally.
So I grew up in Oakville, Ontario. Life was remarkable. I was lucky to have a unbelievable childhood. My parents and brother, we it was fantastic. Lucky enough to be able to have access to and play sports at a high level. Both soccer and hockey were my main sports. As I aged up, I decided to pursue hockey. Just I think in the where I came from, I and what I knew, there was going to be more opportunity in hockey, and I'd like to think I made the right decision and started to pursue that. And as I did, it was people were saying you might have a chance to do this for a living one day, and I kept chasing hockey. Uh, and then at that point, I mean, when I started to chase hockey, you also for whatever reason, people say you have to just focus on hockey and it's only hockey. And I started to push everything else aside, which I realized after the fact wasn't the best plan of action. But that's what I did. Yeah, was everything else was pushed aside and it was just hockey.
Yeah, so you just pushed it all aside and focused right on hockey, eh? And like, what did you push aside? What were your other interests?
Well, the soccer was the big one. I mean, you end up any other hobbies, you just you come home from hockey practice. If the weather's warm enough, you're out on the driveway working on your shot and stick handling, and then you go to school, and then you come home from school, you're back at the rink. So it was just really sleep. When people say eat, breathe, sleep hockey, that's really what it was. Any other free time, you're out working on hockey, thinking about hockey. And yeah, I didn't pick up an instrument or anything, getting into cooking or all the other hobbies I have now. There was just, I didn't make time for that and thought that it needed to be hockey all the time, which again, in retrospect, I realized that's probably not the most efficient way or healthiest way to be the best at something.
Yeah, for sure. So who did you emulate growing up playing hockey and why? Who was your favorite player?
Um, you know what? To be honest, it sounds weird, but uh, I mean, Bobby Orr was my favorite only because he
Nice.
was the one I really knew of, and then I wore number 4 before I
Explains number
realized
four
he was
now.
like someone that, yeah, exactly. But I think before that, even it was. I also like to go against the grain. When I was growing up, there was a big rivalry between the Leafs and Senators, and one of my best friend, also a neighbor, was a big Leaf fan, and obviously I needed to go against the grain with him. So I found the closest rival, and that was Ottawa. And so really, it's ironic now that one of my best buddies that I played with is Swedish, but Daniel Alfredsson was my favorite player growing up. I liked what, and he and Sundin had a bit of a back and forth. in playoffs. So yeah,
Nice,
sounds
nice.
for a defenseman, sounds crazy that he
And
was
that
my
best
favorite,
buddy,
but
would
he
that
sure
be
was.
Gabe?
Yes, yeah.
Nice. How's he doing? Have you been talking to him?
Yeah, he's doing well. Again, I think he's taking this again, trying to look for opportunity. I mean, that's the kind of guy he is, but he's definitely, and I think he put a post out when this very at the very early stages of this, that as much as we were missing hockey, we now have time with family and looking for those positives within this.
Yeah, that's
Again, we're wishing we could do more for those that aren't as well off right now, but looking for those positives. And yeah, so I think things are good with him. He has his daughter that he can spend every day with right now, and I think he's enjoying that.
that's amazing. So, what made you want to get into starting your own podcast and stuff? What was that all about?
Well, when I finished playing, I mean, I had so much support through my entire career here in Kitchener-Waterloo. I knew I wanted to give back in some way. I knew if I could change dreams now from playing in the NHL to another dream, and set my sights on that, it would be to have a business that makes an impact in whatever way, makes an impact locally, makes an impact provincially, whatever it is, and then also puts food on my table. And that's the goal. It still is the goal. Uh,
Nice, man.
but
And
out of the
that, what's
gates, I
that
didn't
podcast
have.
called?
It's called Heroic Minds,
Okay. And then the
and
concept behind it?
yeah, when I first started, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I had tried a bunch of different social ventures that were hopefully going to make an impact, and I think they did, but they weren't quite as financially feasible long term. And so then my buddy said, "Why don't you start a podcast? You like sharing your story, you like working through problems with people." So that's exactly what I did. I met with two people in my life that I knew had been through some challenges, and just sat down, no script, no opening song, nothing like that. It was just unedited. It just shared this conversation of two people. One had been through cancer twice, and the other, Nick Nezik, and the other, Amber Schufelt, who lives life with cystic fibrosis. And that started off what now is Heroic Minds, which is talking with people that have realized their life's an opportunity to be a hero for other people. And it went from those individual stories of trial and tribulation through disease and trauma, injury, to now, researchers, doctors, people that want to make social change, uh, parents that have ventured through certain situations and realized there's an opportunity here to be a hero. And so it's really anyone that has grabbed life and realized it's an opportunity. And it's been really exciting where it's gone, exciting where it's going to go. I don't have a specific plan exactly of where that is, but I'm definitely excited to see where it will go.
Nice, that's awesome. And then your traumatic change, would that be the hit that happened in your rookie year with Kitchener? You know,
Yes,
do you remember
exactly. I
any
mean,
of
I,
that?
I don't, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think the body does that to help you so you don't remember,
yeah.
so that you can live a life without dwelling on that. And so no, I don't remember any of it for the 24 hours around the injury, even most of the hospital, and I was there for a week. I don't remember much.
And so, what types of lasting side effects did you have from it, like mental health wise and stuff like that?
It was more the social side of on both sides. While I wasn't playing those 2 years away from the game of, uh, it was the social part of it though, as much as it could have been the injury. I think there's a lot that we push aside when it comes to traumatic events where we say, oh, it's the injury itself. And while we know that can be true through neuroscience and research, I think one of the parts we really skip over is our emotions and our social situation when dealing with trauma and when dealing with uh, catastrophic change in life. And so during those 2 years, the biggest thing in my life, whether that's right or wrong, I don't think it was right to have this obsessive uh, way of living around hockey, but I was obsessed with the game and it was taken from me. And then
Yeah, you
people
pushed
say,
yourself to the limits to get back.
exactly. And so that's 100% right. And so is the mental health part of it purely structural damage of the brain, or is it societal issues and social issues, identity issues that collectively cause issues. And I think I think both sides could be true, but I think we don't shine enough light on that social side. It's easy for us. We love numbers. We love to see things. We don't, the things that, we can't explain, we don't want to focus on. We want numbers. And that's where I think we go too far to the science side when it comes to this, that, oh, it's purely the injury of the brain. Well, if that's true, then why is there all this research about plasticity and people coming around and things healing, yet people still have issues and tribulations? And I think, so that for me personally, it was those 2 years away from the game, sitting up top in the press box watching, and in front of, my best friends, 23 of them that I'm lucky enough to be with every day, not allowed to play though. I have to watch my best friends play in front of 7,000 people and
Yeah.
sit up top and be told you're never going to play again. So that was tough.
Tough pill to swallow, eh?
Yeah, I did find a way to deal with it that I believe was a very healthy approach, which I approached my head coach, and he was very, very supportive in so many different ways, and didn't really need to be, especially in the hockey world, where unfortunately sometimes
That was
people are
spotter,
just a
right?
number. Yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes we are just, athletes can just be a number. And so he was so supportive, and I just said, hey, it's getting tough for me to watch up top. Is it okay if I go to the local pool and swim, or if I start biking and running? I'm thinking of maybe doing a triathlon one day. He said totally, for sure. He made sure I still had responsibilities to feel a part of the team, but he said that was fine. So I started doing that. I mean, that in itself became a, long story short, I then started a little charity, or raising money for the Brain Injury Association, and started doing triathlons, which was all came from that conversation of taking that really dark feeling up top, not wanting to watch the game that I love because it was just too frustrating that I couldn't play. It turned into, you know, a year later, a triathlon and raising money, and it's fantastic. So it was kind of looking for that light in that darkness, which I think is
Yeah.
many conversations you would have on this podcast. The other side was, then once I decided to move on after 3 more years of playing, I decided to move on because I believed it was right for me. I believed it was right for my family and loved ones. And for my long term, I thought it was time to chase something new. That doesn't mean it was easy. It was just the right thing to do. It felt like it was the right thing to do, and that's what I did. And so venturing through that and I think I still am working at it today. We as people are built up so much, and our identities are so much from our childhood development, and how we grew up, experiences we had when we grew up. And so I would say I'm still working through that. And am I
That's
proud or
amazing.
not proud or embarrassed, or not really? I would just say that's who I am. That's something I can improve at, and I'm working at it, and trying to get better. uh, Again, it's not the easiest thing, but that's who I was, and I'm navigating. And to me, it's an opportunity to learn. Like, mistakes you do make, is, for me, it's an opportunity to learn, which has also been a pill to swallow as well, right?
For
You
sure.
have this ego as an athlete, and that's another side to the coin too. So lots of moving pieces. I'm excited to learn more about that, where I can improve, and the main reason is then I can share it with other people. And at the end of the day, that's my goal, is somehow, inch by inch, make things, empower others to do the same, to improve.
Yeah, for sure. And that's my whole plan with this too, just bringing all these stories together, and getting them out there and stuff like that for the world to hear. So that was my whole goal here. And
Totally.
I have many different sides. Like, earlier on this week, I recorded an episode with a Juno nominated producer and engineer and he's independent one too. He did all the work out of his house, man. Just goes to show how hard you have to work.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing those stories as well. They will make an impact. And a lot of times you may never know. People don't, when people need the help or needed a little tip, sometimes they don't like to admit it, and you'll be
Yeah,
making that impact. You may never know, but it's you definitely are. That's for
I
sure.
appreciate it, man. Thank you. So, how's life after hockey? Like, what is it like being a coach? Some students, some of them your age.
Yeah, that was interesting out of the gates. I coached a couple players that were older than me, actually, that I did play against. And I think the most important part was just being open and honest. That was the easiest way to be out of the gates. And I learned that actually from someone we briefly talked of, was Gabriel Landeskog, and he was in a way more, I don't know, volatile is the word, strenuous is the word, maybe, situation where he came in and was a captain at
At
18 years old.
yeah,
And
18 right off the
yeah,
hop.
right off the hop in the NHL, and
What a
he had
great
to be a
leader that
cap.
guy is. So
Yeah, and he stepped into the locker room, and I asked him this when he was on the podcast. I said, what do you say to Jerome McGinley when you're 18 and he's 30, whatever, 34, and he's Milan Hajduk, the list goes on of these all
yeah,
stars he's in the locker room with, and he's considered the captain. And he just said, he approached the team. He had the room, and he just said, "Yeah, I'm going to do everything I can to make this team better." And he said, "But I don't know. I don't have all the answers, and I'm probably not the best leader in this room." He said, "But I want to be the best leader, and I'm going to learn from every single one of you." And when you can
nice.
be open and honest and vulnerable like that, it's that puts down all the gates. Then everyone else is like, oh, okay, this guy's real. And I think I tried to do the same with Waterloo early on. Again, very different situation than being the
Did you
captain of
find
an
some of
NHL
them wanting
team.
to walk all over you because you're a younger guy, or
Not really. No, I think I again was so open and honest, and would
yeah,
say things beforehand that would say, hey, here's what we're going to do, here's what we're going to try and execute. And if the execution isn't there, then I can easily go back and say, well, remember we talked about this. And I think keeping those communication lanes open made it easy to have those conversations with people that, even though they were older than me, I played against. It was still okay. And they realize, okay, Fennels is in this. He wants to win too, and he wants me to be the best I can be. And if that's open dialogue, and both parties
yeah.
realize that we want to be better together, it's then getting frustrated is just going to slow us down.
Yeah,
So
it's all about having that two-way street.
totally,
Yeah.
totally.
So you're very involved in our community in the KW area, or the community you call home, I guess. But I don't think you're here right now. But what are some of the things you're involved in around the community? You had that headstrong, or is that still going?
So interesting. That's a story of its own. I am still in Kitchener Waterloo. I love the community here. I I've never seen a community where everyone works together as much as we do, and it's pretty cool to be a part of. So am I involved in a specific organization? Not really. I try to get my hands on as many organizations as I can. When I see stuff online, when I see stuff on social media, I
That's
try to
amazing.
chip in wherever I can. It's a bit of everything.
Yeah,
The Dave Rocks group are unbelievable. When Mike Farwell's doing events, when there's cystic fibrosis stuff in town because of Amber and
that's
because
funny.
of Mike, I
Farwell
try
lives
to get
across the
involved.
street from my brother.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, there's just so many great things going on. I like to support the ones that it's individuals doing something.
yeah,
There's and again, it's everyone's chipping in. So as much as there's one big organization to support, there's so many little ones here doing such big things that, yeah, it's wherever I can get involved. Whoever wants me.
fair enough. So I found a little tidbit, but I maybe explain to the audience what the Empower Foundation is all about.
So that's been put on a bit of pause, only because of
Okay.
other things and commitments in my life. But it's a good question. I mean, the podcast episodes are still out there. Long story short is, when I was with the Rangers, I started Headstrong, and that was just simply me going out to schools, sharing my story, and talking about the seriousness of head injury and concussion, which is now, since my injury, blown up in the sports world,
I see a
especially in the
big
hockey
one,
world.
big name, Daniel Carcillo's really taking that seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many foundations that have, when
Yeah.
my injury happened, it wasn't really talked about. It was a bump on the
No,
head, and you
it
go
was like
home
a
and you sleep,
taboo
and
almost.
that was it. Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
There are very, very, a large number of similarities to that, and mental health, because they can't be seen. So the social side is very similar. And we realized that, and I started sharing my story, raising money for the Brain Injury Association of Canada. Then after that, which the Rangers helped build. When I left the Rangers, they said, we want you to take this and run this yourself. It's as an opportunity. They said, we'll support you, but we want you to take this and run with it. So then, long story short, it turned into a nonprofit organization, the Empower Foundation, and still is today. It's
Nice.
just been everyone's life's been a little, even before this, the people on the board have been, busy with their own life goals and commitments, that it's been put on hold for a little bit, and we're okay with that. I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to take a step back, find the new hole in the market of, okay, wait, for people that are struggling with head injury concussion, where their needs not being met, and let's try and tackle that.
Yeah, yeah.
But our approach has always been education.
So have
let's
you
let's
sort of
educate
figured out
people.
where the needs need to be right now?
Have we figured it out?
Yeah, like have you decided where and where not?
To be honest, not really. The
No?
one thing I think will never, well, never. That's tough to say, but where it'll be really hard to fill the void is getting stories to people in the midst of their head injury or concussion, that they can just hear that someone else got through it. I think that's
Okay.
one of the most important things you can do with, whether it's concussion or cancer or anything, is when we
Yeah.
can hear a story of someone else that has been through something similar and they got through it, or they are finding a way to go through it right now. It normalizes the situation. It empowers the individual, because, okay, so potentially there's light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe I don't see it right now, but this person and this person and this person did. So I actually think if we can find those people that are beyond the month or 2 month recovery period, where it starts to get, turns into those long-term symptoms, if we can get people those videos plus resources, uh, that's where I think the gold level of support that you could do as a outside of medical care. That's
Yeah.
what I'd like to see one day. But again, at this point in my life, there's a lot of other tasks and other areas I'm trying to make an impact presently, but maybe we'll get
Nice.
back to that and see where we can take it.
Nice. So you still have the podcast going, or is that on hold as well?
Yeah, so the Heroic Minds is still going, but then what we started doing, exactly what I said, is sharing those stories and
Oh, okay, okay.
sharing the latest research. We actually started the Empower a podcast, the Empower Foundation podcast,
Oh, okay,
by
okay.
Heroic Minds, and so that's still up there. And when they say to test the market and see if there's a need for something, there's still people listening to those episodes that I can see on my numbers, and
Yeah.
that's awesome. I mean, it's a resource that'll always be there now. There's some remarkable researchers and doctors on that podcast. Sorry, it's
Nice.
only 6 or 7 episodes, but it's still going to, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
the internet can do that. People will still have that as a resource.
And you also have your clothing brand now too, that was released back
Yeah,
in the
so that's
fall.
been, yeah, thank you. It's exciting. So there's a bit of a exciting wave building up right now with that, and it's
Nice.
because, again, looking at for a hole in the market. I don't know if we need to dive into it too much, but I've realized very much a big opportunity in athletics and apparel,
Okay.
both
So
monetarily,
is
but
that
then
where you're
also in the
focusing the
messaging.
athletics more?
Yes, that's where
Nice.
at least that's where I'm gonna start things off, right? And
Yeah,
my connections in life are very much in the sporting world. So I think it's
for
a safe
sure.
place to start. And I've realized, yeah, something that could improve in that area. And I'm gonna try and do that with the Heroic Apparel line.
Nice, nice. So that hasn't been released yet to the public?
It's been, it's been a soft release so far. A lot of people in town know about it. Uh, some cool uh, opportunities I saw uh, have come up since then to pivot a
Yeah,
little bit, but still keep things pretty much on the same path. It's just a different way to steer things. And so, doing a bit of a taking a pause. How can we improve this? Right. I did a bit of a soft launch. Okay, where are the holes? Where can I patch things up and make things better? And then move into a. I don't think there'll ever be a point where, and you would know this entrepreneurially, where you ever think, oh, this is perfect now I'm ready for a huge, real big launch. I think it'll
nothing's
just
ever
be,
perfect. It's just go with the flow for
yeah,
me, man.
that's totally it. And that's what I'm doing too, is,
Yeah,
I tried something with a soft launch initially right out of the gates, and it was amazing impact, I think, was made, and more impact on me when people were purchasing the line and wanted
for
to
sure.
support the podcast and the messaging and all that. And now it's, yeah, again, another step in the right direction. And one day, hopefully it's where I could imagine it being.
Nice, nice. So if you could tell the audience, 3 ways to check in on themselves daily with their mental health, what would it be for you?
One thing try to do is be really, and I'm not a professional at this by any stretch. I try to, when I'm doing something, to do just that and just be the best at that. Whether it's uh, even yesterday after my work or before my workout, I was changing into my workout clothes, and it was just taking that pause to fold my clothes nicely and have them ready for when I'm done my workout, even though for me it's in my room, and then I walk outside of my room and I start exercising. Sounds a little ridiculous, but it was just that it's crazy that I remember that
Have that
today, like that
structure.
pause of, yeah, that pause of folding my pants and putting my socks together and have it nice laid out. So when I'm done my shower after my workout, it's nice and organized. But it was kind of like they say the best thing you can do in the morning to start your day is make your bed before you do anything else. You know, don't hop out of bed and check your phone. Don't hop out of bed and start running around. Hop out of bed, make sure that bed is made to the best it can be. And it's that pause. So meditation isn't for everyone. Time wise, ability wise, it's not the easiest thing to do. uh,
It was hard
how
for
can
me
we
to get
make that a
started
part
on
of,
it, but once I started on it, I love it. Every morning, it's the only way to start my day, and then read my couple of readings I read, and
yeah,
then I get my coffee. But I even
exactly,
cut that. I
that's
cut caffeine out 5 days ago. Fuck, what a difference!
oh, I agree. I do that every once in a while too. I have my ebbs and flows of that, and I just think so. It's finding what works for you, and then, so that's
Yeah,
one thing is where can you, in what daily habit or routine can you just do that? Don't be doing it and checking your phone and doing that and doing something else. It's hard to do because we don't believe it's the right thing, but we know scientifically and socially and behaviorally that it is the best thing we could do, is to just be 100% in that moment. And I try to look for opportunities to do that. And again, I'm not a professional, but I'm
no, for
slowly
sure.
learning.
Like I do, I write out 6 things every morning that I need to do, a list of 6, and then I prioritize them. And if I don't get them all done, I just carry what's left over to the next day and go at it again. I be honest, for doing it for a couple months now, I haven't even got a full list of 6 done yet. So
Well, it's very much like, I mean, Jocko says, or the military view, like slow is smooth and smooth is fast, and it's so true. Like
yeah,
jagged and multitasking, we think is fast, but we know it's not, and it's also low caliber work because we're using 70% or not even 40% of our brain for a task, and it's hard to convince ourselves that that's the truth, but
yeah,
yeah, you learn that when you do adopt these habits, right? You realize, oh my gosh, I've gotten so much more done, or I'm so much more present, whatever it is. But you really have to commit to it to feel that.
for
Um,
sure.
the next, I'm reading about a book, How Emotions Are Made, right now, and
Okay.
my, I'm lucky that my girlfriend's so open about talking about this stuff. I feel like
I'm grateful
I've
for that
thrown
too
a
with
lot of
my
psycho.
girlfriend Megan too.
Yeah, like, and even my parents too, like throwing all this psychology stuff at them, just bouncing ideas off them, and usually
Yeah,
subjectively, like my own views and ideas. And uh,
nice.
one of the things I'm reading right now is How Emotions Are Made, and it talks about uh, we anger isn't this one thing that we're born with. It's actually, we develop our own instances of anger, and at an early age, if you don't know what anger is, how do you know what you're feeling?
Yeah,
If no one explains to you what anger is, then you just have this feeling that you can't articulate to yourself. You can't articulate it to anyone else. And so now you have this pent up feeling inside you that you
yeah.
can't draw a
It's like
meaning
this
to because
fire
you don't know
inside
what
you
it
that
is.
isn't going out.
Yeah. And it's like, what is, and there, even further, exactly. You have this fire inside you, but you don't even know what the fire is. You've never
Yeah,
heard of it. You don't know what it is. So the ability to articulate how you feel, I've realized, is super important. Even, and it really, to say it to someone else is great, to get to share it, but even to yourself, the importance of that, taking time to try and articulate why it is the way you feel. Like, why am I anxious today, or why am I frustrated today? Why do I have this aura of just something doesn't feel right? Well, it makes us, it furthers the situation. It makes it worse when we can't explain why. When we,
yeah, yeah,
we're stressed out by uncertainty, lack of control. That's what stresses out a human being. And that, when we can't articulate how we feel, well, we feel a lack of control. There's uncertainty because we don't know why we feel that way. So if we can work on articulating why it is the way we feel, a little reflection of, oh, it was because I missed out on this, or I haven't completed this task, or I haven't had that conversation with so and so. That's why I feel this way. Okay. And that's the emotion I'm feeling. Well, now it normalizes it and you can actually find a way to deal with it. But if we don't take the time to articulate that and just move on to the next task and the next task, well, it's just going to sit in the back of our mind and build up and become an issue. So
Yeah,
that's
like
one thing, we don't want to talk about how we feel all the time, but
no,
even if you
it's
self-reflect on
needed.
it, yeah, yeah,
I
totally.
even me and my girlfriend, we've started doing this the last few months though, just checking in at the end of the night before we lay our heads down, like how our day was,
Nice.
what didn't you like about it? What did you like about it?
Yeah.
Just and hash out our differences, so we go to bed with a clear mind and wake up happy and start the day off fresh again.
Awesome. I love it. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Like, and I'm reading a book right now on self-image. My mentor said, Chris, you have a self-image problem. We're going to dig into this, but I don't know if you ever heard of the book, Psycho-Cybernetics by
No, no.
Maxwell Maltz. He's a plastic
Okay.
surgeon from the 50s, and he wrote this book on self-image, though. Great book. I suggest you pick it up sometime. But it's one of those
I
ones
think
you
I've
just,
heard of that actually.
yeah, you don't just read it beginning to end. My mentor said, you pick apart each paragraph, and if you don't get it, go back and do it again. So
Right,
literally, I've
right.
been reading it for about a month, and I'm on like page 18, man. Like, just, he said, you pick that thing apart.
Oh,
So,
that's fantastic.
yeah. So, that was,
Cool. And then a third thing, I'm not, those two are the most important right now to me. A third thing I think would also, I guess the reminder, and again, another thing that I can improve at. So this is subjectively for me
yeah,
is realizing, I guess, the importance of recharging as opposed to just continuing to work and the value of that. I think we get caught up in this world being told that, getting up at 5 a.m. and just grinding and thinking that grinding and working harder is better. Well, like you said, I mean, if you can find someone to do something for you so that you can free up your mind and your time, then why not do it? But I think our
yeah,
society, marketing, Hollywood, everything has led us to, well, do more, send more emails. If you can do more, just do it. And then we're able to free up our time. And with that free time now, we just do more, right? We have technology that's given
yeah.
us the gift of time. We can do things faster. And yet with that free time, we then fill it with scrolling through our phone or doing more aimless work. And it's just kind
Yeah,
of like,
I'm notorious
what,
for that,
why?
or guilty
I
of
think a
that
lot, well,
too.
it's,
Yeah,
but I think a lot of people are, because we are very much become affected by the environment we live in. And if our environment is full of advertisements everywhere
yeah,
and people doing the same thing everywhere, where it's just working harder aimlessly just to do more work, like, it's just kind of, when do we draw the line of, why don't we do with what we have? Why don't we do better with working? Why don't we do everything we need to do in 5 hours a day instead of just doing more and more and more in 8 hours a day? Like,
no, it's so
we,
true.
a lot of studies have shown.
I dug
Sorry,
into
go
this
ahead.
podcast head first, and I was like, I'm glad I caught myself and nipped it in the ass right away, though, because I was finding myself doing the exact same thing, just diving head first in, and it was go, go, go on this podcast. And then I was like, you know what? The other day, I was like, I got to take a step back, and I canceled some recordings and stuff like that, and just put them ahead. And I had to, man. It was just had to recharge, give myself the me time at the end of the day too. So
That's exactly it. And it's interesting. It's a complex idea that not doing less is more. I don't like the idea of just saying do less, but it's how can you work more efficiently, uh, and end up feeling like you're doing less, but your output is more, right? That's the end goal. It's kind of, we can't keep trying to shove the square peg through the round hole and just think that, oh, if we just work harder and stay up later and send more emails, we'll get the job done. It's, why don't we actually take a step back, breathe, and work a little bit more efficiently and find where we're putting too much time in and we could be putting less because it's not really bringing that much of an outcome.
yeah,
And I don't think we do that enough. I definitely did the exact same thing with the podcast. You jump into things, think you need to go a mile a minute, and you have to do everything yourself. And it's just,
I just
whoa,
found
take a step
myself
back.
getting really overwhelmed and stuff. So I had to,
And
whoa,
then you
take a
just get in
step
your own
back.
way, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, like
exactly.
then you're not your best. You're not going to be the best host because you've got too much on your mind, thinking you need to do more and more. So it's a vicious circle. It's hard to pull yourself out of it, but it's similar to everything we talked about today, that
Yeah,
mindfulness side too. It's until you take that time to stop and think and pull back, take a step back for a second, you really never notice the difference. So those are my three recommendations. And the third one probably being the most important, the I would say the most feasible to implement, but not the easiest to implement,
Okay,
if that
nice.
makes sense.
No, it does make
It's
sense.
everyone can take a step back and slow down. It's just not easy. It's feasible,
Yeah,
but it's not easy.
no, lots of people, or you can say you're going to do it, but you have to put your, words into
Hmm.
action. Then it's not just all about, running the mouth and saying you're going to do something. You got to put those words into action, I find too. So you use those
Yeah.
action words.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're almost at the end here. I got the 5 questions of fire, I call it. Just 5 random questions, fun questions for the
Cool.
audience. So spice it up a
I
little.
love it.
So, what's your go-to order at your favorite hometown restaurant? What's that order in the restaurant?
Favorite hometown restaurant. Jeez, I'm at the big Daily. I don't know if you would know Daily Grill up in North
Oh,
Waterloo.
love it.
It's one of the best spots. So there, the breakfast, it's just yeah. To me, go in, talk. I know the owner, Chris, and sit down and have a cup of coffee, talk about everything in life that doesn't matter. It's a nice little not escape, but a nice little break from reality, and have an
Nice,
awesome bacon and eggs. So that's probably my favorite spot, favorite order.
nice, nice. Yeah, but for you that don't know, Daily Grill's up in North Waterloo.
Yeah.
What do you wish you would have known when you first started out after hockey? Like life
I wish
after
I would have
hockey.
known how. Yeah, I wish I knew how much other things could make me feel like hockey did. I was the last person in the world you could convince of that too. That other things could make me happy and excite me and put that drive towards something else. I didn't believe that was possible. So I wish I knew that. And I wish I could have convinced my younger self of that.
Nice. What are you curious about right now in this instance?
Uh, this is might be too deep, but I'm curious about again in this book I'm reading. I speak a lot on the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and
Nice, I
I
love
want to
it.
know more about how either accurate and connected that theory is, or not even really a theory. Like some of it's science, some of it's theoretical. I want to know that true relationship, and I hope to find out. I hope to educate as much as I can. Uh,
Nice.
so yeah.
So, what is something you'd say you failed at but learned from?
Oh, a bunch of different things. I mean, yeah, I guess it depends what you consider a failure, right? I think would say I didn't make it to the NHL, but the journey I was on to get there and where it's led me today has put me on an unbelievable journey that I wouldn't really trade. So yeah,
Nice. That's awesome. And last but not least, is there something I should have asked you but didn't?
a good question. No, I thought this was awesome. I don't. Yeah, no, you covered all the bases. So no, that you did an awesome job.
Thanks,
If
man.
anyone,
Thanks.
I guess the one thing is if anyone wants to reach out and continue this conversation further, they can reach out to me. That would be the only other thing. And if you type my name in online, you can find contact me
Yeah,
easily.
tell them about your social media pages. You're mostly on Instagram from what I see. So,
Yeah,
what's your
Instagram and Twitter,
social?
and then the website's heroicminds.live, which you can contact me there. And then Twitter and Instagram are heroicminds_. And you can easily, that goes right to all that goes to my personal email. So anyone can reach out and keep the conversation going.
Nice. Thanks, Ben. So, what are 3 positive words you tell the audience before we leave here?
Positive, like individual words or ideas or,
Yeah, positive ideas, to
um, hmm, hmm. I, I would say I think we have to, and I got more of an idea than, uh, than 3 words. That'd be hard to fit enough
okay, you
powerful
go with the
words in there.
ideas.
I
I
think,
love it.
I think, I think the power of, if we really reflect on, I think we need to reflect on what we're doing. Here, I can find 3 words in an idea. If we can reflect on what we're doing, so reflection would be good. I don't think we do that enough.
Okay.
We reflect on what we're doing. We realize the power. Okay, so power, reflect and power. And I would say, um, and then execution. I think when we reflect, we realize where we could be more powerful, where we're wasting energy and power, um, and then we'll execute better. And when I say execute, I mean execute to have better relationships, execute to have create better work, to free up some room in our brain to be creative, to free up time to recharge. So yeah, those would be my three words.
Nice. Thank you very much, Ben, for coming on and being a guest on my podcast. Thanks again, Ben. So hope you have a good rest of your day.
This will be fantastic, and thank you so much for the video. I'm glad you're going to be a part of it. You can tell people to make sure they check out that video
Oh yeah,
once
tell them a
it's
little bit about
uploaded. It's going to
that.
be
Tell them a little
awesome.
bit about that before you leave.
So so I wanted to do something. Like I said when I first started, I wish I could do more to help those that aren't as well off right now. And to be honest, my hands are kind of tied. I don't have a monetary model that would work. And we have to stay inside. So in doing what we can, I wanted to make a video of as many people all over social media that have contacted me, that if they want to send 5 seconds into their funniest, best or worst dance moves with family, friends, or by themselves, you send that video to me and I'll put it together in a music video with a really good feel good song. And
Nice.
we're going to share that and make people laugh and smile. So it's
That's
the
what
end of
it's
this
all
week. We're
about.
definitely going to have it ready to go. It is unbelievable so far. Waiting for a few more videos from some people, but I can't wait to make people laugh and smile at this time.
Nice. Thanks again, Ben, and hope you have a good rest of your day and stay safe.
Thank you so much. You as well.